From HollyHall.com, and we are going to be talking about how to leave the matrix, and also I'm going to be doing some free readings. I know I'm on earlier than I thought I would be, but I'm definitely going to be setting up some regular times soon, so that all of you can get a taste. I do. Okay. Now I want to make sure that I am live on Facebook. And I think that I am live in my group. Right, so this is great. And then I'm going to test that I'm live on YouTube as well. And soon I'm going to be live on Instagram. Okay, great. So we're going to do some readings. So what we need here is I need your birth date, your birthplace, not necessarily your birth time, but if you have either one, that would be great. Okay. And then we're going to take a look at how can you become sovereign and free of the matrix. And I've got some secrets around there. But I think I have a completely different understanding of the matrix. And so you're going to want to know what I mean by my own download of the matrix. Okay, so I'm not on my Facebook either, but I'm definitely on YouTube. I'm just going to check if I'm in my group live. No. And I'm going to want to take a look at where I am in Facebook as well. Yeah, so they're having trouble being on both. Okay, so I'm going to go on my Facebook normal live, and there we go. And I will edit this later. And sorry for this YouTube. This is my first time being on YouTube live as well. Okay. So everyone, this is Holly from HollyHall.com, and I am your resident astrologer, and I also download messages from source. I've written the book 101 Answers from the Universe, 101 Answers from the Universe, and that's a book that you can get on Amazon. Now, the important thing to know is to understand what the matrix is. Hi, Andrew, and I'm going to speak to you about what the matrix is. And this is a recent download that I have received. And this is important to know what Source's version of the matrix means in general. Now, to be honest with you, there's parts of the matrix that cannot be revealed. And it will be revealed to you when you know that you're in the matrix and you're working on getting your way out. And source or God or spirit just will show up. Things will show up for you when you're ready to get out of the matrix. Okay. And then we're going to do some free readings. So what I want you to do is, oh, thanks for the hair color. What I want you to do is get your birth date ready and your time if you have it. And you can ask any question, but if you don't have a question, if you'd like to stick to the theme that I'm having here, then I will talk to you about how you are stuck in the matrix, how your human self may be easily trapped in the matrix, and how can we move you out of the matrix, and then how can we and are you in the midst of a cycle right now that has you trapped in that matrix, right? And the way that and then I'm going to tell you how you can get unstuck, because everyone's version of being in the matrix is very different, and the role that you play in the matrix is also very different. Okay. And when you realize, when you can see the matrix, or being out of the matrix, you can see the tunnel out. When you're able to see that tunnel out, then what happens is you'll be able to answer questions such as what Darlene is asking: when will I fall in love? The reason you'll be able to answer is because you will already be in love. You're already in love. You're already just, the love is just so embedded in your every being of who you are, that you're in love all the time. You're in love with nature. And this is a place that you want to aspire to. Am I there? Yes. Some of the time I am, and some of the time I'm not, because I'm human and I have these human mechanisms that can cloud me and definitely get in my way. There's also a lot of mass manipulation that has been happening for the last 30 to 40 years. And you can look up early 1970s, called the Stanford experiment. And the Stanford experiment was conducted by a psychologist, I can't remember his name, psychiatrist actually. And what he did, and there's a movie on it. I actually learned about it when I was taking psychology, and there's documentaries on it. You can find it on YouTube, and it'll blow you away. And that is how easily, it shows clearly how easily good, honest, pure, controlled, autonomous men, in this case, became tyrants and fearful and scared and bullies and controlling and manipulative and manipulated. Even though they could walk out, they had complete free will and freedom. And this is what it feels like to be in the matrix. We have complete, it is our God-given blessing gift, is free will. That is our gift, is free will. We always have free will, right? And even if you're in the most horrific experience, and there's a great a TED talk, and it is a woman of color, and I believe she was in either Syria or Afghanistan. I don't think it was Afghanistan. And she did a TED talk. I'm looking it up now. And she was trapped in a bathroom for, I believe, 3 months, as the soldiers were going around trying to find anyone and put them in jail, in confinement, murder them, kill them. And it was, I believe, her cousin, who was in the army, who protected her by putting this giant armoire in, because it had 2 bathrooms. That was a blessing. So they put this giant armoire in front of one of the bathroom, very small bathroom wall. And she lived off of the water in the toilet and the little bit of water that was left to come out, right? For that. Now, in that terrifying time, because it was a kind of a documentary done on that too. She found her free will to change her perspective of life. Okay, so I'm going to find it later, and it might be Denise Francis. No, that's not it. That's not her. So I will find it later and I'll put it in the link, because this change, it was a game changer for me, as many game changers are that I experience. And for her to come to a place of serenity and calm and peace and acceptance and trust and faith, absolutely amazing, right in the midst of terrifying horror. Absolutely blew my mind away. Okay. The other one you want to look up is Chimamanda Ngozi. So Chimamanda, Ngozi, a TED Talk that she's done. Okay. The Power of the Single Story. You want to look that one up as well. Now let's talk about what the Matrix is, and then we're going to do some free readings. So the Matrix, the meaning of the Matrix, and this is from the Merriam-Webster, is something such as a situation or a set of conditions in which something else develops or forms, something shaped like a pattern or lines or spaces, a container that is filled with material, something within form which something else originated or developed. Okay. Now we know of the movie The Matrix. That's not exactly the meaning that I was looking for. So basically, the Matrix is when there is form and there's complete control. And the idea is that when you're within that matrix, you are being controlled by those that are forming the matrix, such as, you guys know, I've always been, years and years, this has been my angst. The agricultural system, the educational system, the government, the pharmaceutical system, the medical system, and the list goes on, right? The consumerism system, and the list goes on. So when we are trapped by the matrix, and there's only one thing that you have to work on, okay? There's one thing that contributes to the entrapment of an environment in which there is complete structure, right? And if you want to learn more, you can look up the Matrix on Google. And if you want to watch the movie The Matrix, which I watched in my teen years and it scared the bejesus out of me, there's only one thing that's going to completely dissolve you, and they happen to be the same thing. What will keep you trapped in the matrix and what will help dissolve you from stepping out of the matrix is one thing. Maybe two, but we're going to start with one. And that is fear. Fear will make you stay in the matrix. Now, of course, humans are survivalists. Every cell in your body wants to survive and live, whether it's cancerous or it's complementary to your system, right? It helps you breathe. And we want comfort. We don't want to suffer, right? We don't want to suffer. We want comfort. We want complacency. And in order to fight the fear, it's very discomfortable. It's very discomfort. It's uncomfortable to fight that fear. So believe it or not, we stay in the fear, believing that the control around us will keep us safe. Believing that the control around us will keep us safe. And if that's your belief system, you will, whatever you need to do to maintain that belief system, you will do. You will believe. Whatever it is, that's what you're going to do. And it works for you. Now, when you're ready to step out of the matrix, the control, and use your free will, that's scary because you're going into the unknown, because our world is built on the foundation of the matrix. And so when you step outside of it, so for instance, there are people who will go on retreats to temporarily step out of the matrix. There are some people who have permanently gone off grid, and they have no computer, they have no technology, there's not that many, right? But they have all of this. There are countries that are not as deep into the matrix as North America is, because they do not depend on technology. There's not that many, right? And there are some that are deep in their own isolated matrix, such as places of communism and even workplaces in North America can be a deep matrix. And so the way that you get out of that is becoming fearless, less of fear, less fear, right? So fearless in the face of fear. Now, when we're fearless in the face of fear, it doesn't mean the fear goes away. Right? And I use the example of quitting a bad habit. So let's say quitting smoking. When you quit smoking, it's not easy. You crave it. You quit eating cookies or sugar or alcohol or even a bad habit like shopping, right? It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It doesn't make you happy, and it's good for you, but you don't like it. But eventually, when you build up a system and you reframe your brain and the neuroplasticity, it becomes reframed and reinvented, and neural pathways are transformed, then you look back and go, why did I ever smoke? I have no desire for another drink. I don't really want to shop. I don't need any more stuff, right? That's when you're starting to step out of the matrix. A lot of vegans are stepping out of the matrix for all their different reasons. A lot of people that are animal activists, climate change activists, they all see little tiny pieces of the matrix, right? And if you want to be active, it forces you to maintain yourself in the matrix. I know. It's like you want to be an activist, and yet you're maintaining that while you're doing that. And I'm not saying don't be an activist, because I've been there too. And I just shared on my Facebook page, AskHollyHall.com, a multi-billionaire. And instead of using all his money to go to the moon, which was millions of dollars, he used that money to buy a chunk of the Amazon from developers so he could save the Amazon, that chunk, $18 million. That's my kind of person, right? So we all have weaknesses, which is also the flip side of a strength, in which we entraps us in the matrix. Okay. And like Shalene says, don't know how to live in it anymore in the USA. To live in what? Live in the matrix or live not in the matrix? In North America, it is challenging. But the one thing, and this is a way of Buddhism, and it's a way of Christianity as well for many, as long as you're practicing, you're disciplining, and you're practicing, whether you falter or you stray away at times, as long as you're aware of the other way and you practice that other way, you're a lot further than most people. Okay. So we have a question here. I'm going to start from the top. And I was supposed to go on at 8 o'clock Eastern, but I decided to go early. And I'm glad I did, because I usually go on at 8 and there's more engagement here. So we've got July 2nd. Would love to know how I am in the matrix, please. Thank you, Helen. That's a great question. So July 2nd. So what I want you to do is, I invite you to do, is to go on to AskHollyHall.com and sign up for my newsletter. You can cancel at any time and get 20% off and book a session. I don't know if I have anything free this week or next week, but I definitely do the week after. So let's look at how July 2nd, you can yeet yourself out of the matrix. I want to make sure I got that all right. Oh, Darlene, I'll get to you too. Sorry about that. So in order to get out of the matrix, because it's an ongoing process, it never ends, right? You want to be able to see it, no matter how close or how far it is, you can see it. So with you, it really depends on the time that you were born and the place that you were born, because your moon is right on the cusp. But if you were born after 4 in the morning, around 3 or 4 in the morning, then there is a gravitation towards material security for your emotional well-being. And when you have material security, like that steady paycheck, which can make you slave to the wage, you have this strong emotional sense of satisfaction, right? And you also are one, and you just finished a cycle. Not too long ago, you finished a cycle where you were not as lackadaisious and easygoing and compromising as you normally would be. You started to get angry. You started to start to take charge. I'm not going to let people walk all over me. I'm not going to be so compromising. I'm going to be a little bit conflicting, in fact, and contradictive even. And through this, you started to and this was a big tie that you had in your relationship with your mother. And so a lot of this would have been with women in the last 2 years. And as you started to step outside of learning how to say no, and that is a piece of advice I would give you very strongly. Never say yes. And some people go, "What do you mean never say yes?" What I mean is you pause. Whether your child asks you for a cookie, or your husband says you want to go out with the Joneses, or your boss says, "Can you take over this project?" The smaller the question, like the cookie, that may only need a few seconds of a pause. The larger one may need 24 hours, because you need time to think and weigh things out. You need to process it. You don't want, but the people pleasing side of you wants to react immediately. So you say yes. And because you don't want to not please the people, then you normally don't renege. But in the last 2 years, you did, right? Because you don't want people to be the boss of you, which has happened. So you lost a sense of who you were. And now you're gained a sense of who you were by process of elimination, which means I am not this and I am not that. And that's a big step. Even though we don't know where we are, if we know where we don't want to be, that's huge, right? And that's what you developed. So learning not to be the people pleaser is one way for you to step out of the matrix. Learning to use your intuition, believing that you shine very brightly and you deserve to shine brightly, and to stop the materialism, right? And so stop the collecting, because you're a collector, you have an emotional attachment to your collections, and witness your shopping and the feeling that you have when you have things, right? What is the feeling that you get while you're shopping, after the purchase, and a week or so after? Just witness it. Organically, things transform when we use observation. And they've actually proven that. Nassim Haramein, a radical physicist, has proven that. And there's a test that was done. There's a test on observation that split. Oh my God, the split theory experiment. And with protons, light protons, you can look that up. And what they discovered there was observation changed the action of a proton. It changed the action of a proton when it was being observed. Because when it wasn't being observed, which was just when it wasn't observed, there was just a camera on it, wasn't human, it had another reaction. And so Nassim Haramein took that a bit further and said observation makes things exist. And so there's the idea, because he's actually an astrophysicist as well, that the deeper that they go out into the universes to discover, the more the universe expands, right? The more the universe expands. So that is proof of why observation of yourself will expand you. You will grow. You will evolve. Okay. So let's go to, hopefully that's helped. I really would love your feedback. That makes a world of difference. Hi, Ahmad. And Andrea. So we've got March 20th, and she's got the time, which is really cool. And Darlene would like to know when she's going to find love. When she's going to find love in all the right places. So we got March 24, 19 at 3. See, I got to punch this stuff in. AskHollyHall.com is where you want to go. Sign up for my newsletter. Get 20% off. Helen, I hope that helped you. I would love your feedback on the awareness that you received from that, or if it released any blocks, which is what my intention is. Every time I do a session with somebody, there's a block release. Every time. And the first one is like, it's huge. Okay, so we got 3:50 p.m. So Darlene, one of the ways of finding love is knowing what you do love. And you are a romantic at heart. And so you do and have been attracted to those that are more assertive, more aggressive, financially secure, maybe an artist or musician or dreamer, and you dream along with them, and you can get really caught up in that romantic view of a relationship, right? Whatever that romantic view is for you. Everyone has their own romantic view. I'm not talking about candlelights and dinner. I'm talking about what you envision. What is your fantasy of a relationship? What is your desire? What is your hunger to be in a relationship? What is that, right? And those are the things that I had just mentioned. That's what it is for you. But you want to find somebody that's a healthy version of a creative mind and a healthy version of an independent person and a healthy version of financial security. And what I'm seeing for love for you is actually not that far away. It's when Neptune goes over your Mars in Pisces in, I believe it'll be 2022. And this is a very deep spiritual love. Right? You can easily get lost in helping those who suffer because you really feel for the underdog. Now, it could be around July and August, but it really doesn't hit full force until November of 2022. And then long term, head over heels in love in April of 2023. So sorry, it's not any sooner than that. It's a year and 6 months from now. So it's a year and a half from now, right? But this is a deep spiritual love. So now we're going to look at September 12th, 71. Is that 70? No. Okay. September 12th. And she wants to know about finances. Now, I know that there's been a lot of people, a lot of losses for Virgos in the last couple of years. 8:30 a.m. That's a good one. And those losses have lifted our misconception and idealism and releasing something that blocks us. And you're right in the middle of one, darling. You're right in the middle of one. And it's asking you to lift the block of finding what you love to do. What do you love to do? Are you doing what you love to do? Do you love what you're doing? Right? In Instagram, I want you to add your birth date and your, if you have your time of birth and the year, and ask me a question, Instagrammers, and same with YouTubers, right? Ask me a question. I'm new to YouTube, so I'm not new to YouTube. Ask Holly Hall. I got tons of videos there. That's my first live. Okay, so in the finances, once you lift the block, okay, you're pragmatic, you're a problem solver, you are a planner, and it's asking you to quit the plan. Quit the plan. I know you've been working really hard in the positions that you've been in, but it's asking you to throw away, crumple up that plan, throw it away. It's asking you to do that and to give to your dream. Give to your dream. Give to that dream. Because up until, again, yours is also at the beginning of January, February of 2023. Again, that's another year and a half away. That's when I coach people. I do a lot of business coaching and career coaching. I help people quit jobs and then find what they really love to do. And they're busy as hell. I have a therapist, a teacher, a corporate America, marketing, all of them are so happy with what they're doing. Are they rich and famous? Maybe not financially. Well, one of them is. One of them doing really well. The other one's doing perfectly fine. She doesn't worry about the financial situation, but she is happy and healthy, and she's not having mental breakdown every day. Okay, so your finances will increase permanently. Then let me see if there's a temporary fix that I have. Now, I'll tell you what you're good at. You're good at anything where you're problem solving. You're good at anything that allows you to write or teach or instruct. Okay, you've got a big roadblock right now, and these are disputes that you're having with higher ups. They're inhibiting your energy and also the structure and the discipline of the workplace or the work situation that you have. And this is creating an intense irritability. That will be over at the beginning of January, so that's only 2 months away, right? This is letting go of ego disputes that you're having with others. Okay, after January of 2022, specifically April, because you're like ready to lose your shit with some people here. And there's been an unexpected curve of events in May of 2021, and that's going to happen again in April of 2022. And that's when you're going to have to give up the plan. You'll get news if you're ready to do that. And if we can release that block right now and you're ready to let go, you're ready to surrender. You're ready to surrender. No more problem solving the future. Because when that future comes and there's a problem that exists, you're going to nail it, right? So I'm going to use my pendulum right now. And I'm going to ask, sideways being no, forward being yes. Should she quit the current position that she's in right now? And it's a resounding yes. Okay, should she if she's not in a current position right now, should she be starting her own business of sorts? That's going in a circle, so it's not sure. It's not sure. I might not be on the mark here, so she can explain that to me as well. And or should she be working for a completely different company? Yes. So that opportunity is going to come for her in January. Yeah. Okay. So January. So let's put it out there. You're ready. You're ready to receive. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at love your feedback. She said she does love what she does. Okay. Do you love where you work? Do you love, it's asking you to do something completely different, outside of the box. It's something that you're resisting because it's not mainstream. Okay. With a man that you've been hanging out with for the last month. I don't know. I'm not seeing that. Okay. I do. I love the kids, family, and team that I work with. Okay. So this is where I would work with you for a good hour on doing a session. I know we've done sessions together, Maureen. So I'd invite you to listen to the past sessions again. And are you teaching? Is this a part of teaching? Are you working within the school system? Are you filling a gap that's in the school system now? There's an expansion that you're resisting, and it wants you to do something that's a bit different than what you've been doing. Doesn't mean that you're not working with kids and family and team that you work with. It means that there is an advancement and a shift. She said she is teaching. There's an advancement and there's a shift and there's an expansion that's being resisted right now. It's showing very strongly that you're fighting against it or the system is fighting against you. You're going to get some news, very positive news, on how you can be a part of that shift and that change in January. And then the financial, and then part of the resistance will also lift in April. And then the financial reward of the work that you do between now and January of 2023 is going to be reaped then in the new year of 2023. That's when your finances kick into gear. But you're going to be working towards that. It doesn't mean you wake up January 1st and suddenly you've got more money in the bank, right? It slowly elevates, slowly making more up until then. So let's sit with that for a bit and see if there's something that triggers for you. So then we've got Karen, late morning. Do you see inheritance or an increase in finances? I hope I am not moving and everything will simmer down. Okay. So this might take a longer session, but let me see what I get off the bat. Now, spirit-wise, there's an inheritance, but Spirit's showing me a split in the inheritance. And this is what you're not happy with, is a split. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I don't like just numbers, but because it's 27, that's obvious. There's a strong male energy involved in that split, and there's some legal stuff going on. I feel that's the strong energy, male energy that I'm getting. He's the problem. He is problem. Okay. And there's a lot of family drama around this. And somebody is being misrepresented. Misrepresented. That's not even a word, is it? Misrepresented. And there is, I don't see the moving of a house. You will know this between January 11th and January 20th, give or take a day. And this is to your advantage. There is a letting go of a family member, and all of it will be finalized in, there's a lot of lies and deceptions and untruth. And you know the truth. And it's asking you to surrender and not force the truth down people. I know it's aggravating and it's frustrating, and it will all come to fruition at the end of May and June. Okay. And it is going to be in your favor, but it's you being frustrated with making people see the truth that is causing a lot of confusion right now. And there is a family member that has to be let go of. I see that as female, very strong feminine energy. And you've been the leader of this. You've done all the work. You know, you're the one who's done all your due diligence. And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, wait. Yeah, you come in at the last hour and now you want to get involved. This is what's happening, right? So that's how it's all going to end up. Yes, you'll get your inheritance. Hope that makes sense. Shalini says, yeah, with an exclamation mark. Don't know how to live in the role. Okay, I'll explain that to you in a minute. The one for not living in the role in the United States, This is coming from the dynamic of a family in the United States and the dynamic from family in another country. See, so it seems that you have family in another country who has a different way of their world. They have different view of their world, and the family and friends in the United States maintaining some of the rules of the world, of their world, and incorporating the matrix of the United States in that. And you can clearly see the enmeshment of all of this and how it is causing much more of a divide than other people are realizing it. And the other ones want to play the part. They want to act the role. And that's making you crazy. So the only way, once you are out of the matrix or somewhat out of the matrix, you start to look at those that are in it like watching a movie. It's like watching a movie. And you can turn it off. You cannot entertain yourself with the movie. You can witness it like passersby, just like doing their thing. And it doesn't affect you emotionally or intellectually. And it doesn't waver you. So you may go to a gathering that is a tradition and you can see all the fakeness and the phoniness, but you can go home and still be yourself with your family, with your friends, with your people, right? Dividing the difference. So you're acting a part when you're there, and then you snap back to yourself when you're out of the matrix. Does that make sense? So June 7th, 84, she wants to know about her relationship with her father. Now, if I were to be doing a long, I would be looking up the father's chart as well. But I don't have time, obviously, to do that in a quickie. But I can always see the father within one person's chart. AskHollyHall.com. Sign up for my newsletter to save 20%, which knocks the price down to $99, $98, something like that. And it's 1 hour. I talk very, very fast when I'm doing my sessions. And I just broke up with someone last week. There is a possibility of getting back together, but we have old patterns to break. That again would be looking at two different charts, but I will look at yours for sure and see what I can see there. Thank you, Holly. You were spot on with my reading. Thank you, Helen. Good. I'm glad. And June 7th. So I talk too much and then I forget numbers. On that. AskHollyHall.com is where you can book your reading with me. And I love doing readings. I love creating blocks, unblocks, not creating blocks, unblocking blocks. I do past life regression therapy. Those are game changers for a lot of people. So your relationship with your father, first I'm going to look to see if it's karmic, and definitely karmic. And there was a lot of the relationship that you had with your father there was trauma, right? There was a lot of trauma. It was very unpredictable. There was a lot of anxiety at the final part of that relationship. And there was a drastic breakup, drastic. It also involved love. It also involved a partner in that lifetime. And I'm almost getting I'm not saying that there's fragments, okay? If somebody says you were Queen Elizabeth the First in a past life, and there's 100 people, 200,000 people, I'm Queen Elizabeth in the past life. There are, if they're not charlatans, okay? There's obviously charlatans out there, but they're fragmented. Sometimes when I illustrate this, it just gives you an understanding on another level of the kind of relationship that existed in that past life. And it is resurfacing in this lifetime to be healed. And there's this real push and pull. So you have this dynamic of feeling manipulated by your father. There's a lack of trust around an event that happened when you were around 12 years old around your father. There is this argument that is so diabolical between the two of you, of always who's right, who's wrong, who's right, who's wrong. You're very sensitive to being right or wrong. And he seems to be triggering that from that past life as well. And in that past life, the story that I get is a Romeo and Juliet story. Like you had a love in a past life and he destroyed that, or he was a part of the destruction of it. It could be something simple where he had no choice, or it was a dynamic that he was in, and we can do a past life and you can have a clear understanding of that. But you have this sense of nervousness, this sense of flight or fight when you're around him, this sense of anxiety when you're around him. And you don't share your love life with him very easily or quickly because of that. And so you will, next year, you will heal that relationship because you will dissolve your fear and lack of trust. And he will no longer be able to manipulate you. And you won't care if you share with him your choice in your love life. Your choices in your love life is what you fear, that he will sever you from that, because I have in a past life. So after beginning of April, you're going to be clear of that. It will improve. I do invite you to work with me on that though, because I can look at his chart as well too. I'd really love feedback around that, Serena. So now we're going to look at our Instagram ones. Should I reconcile this or let it go? And so now we're going to look at February 12th. She's in a relationship and they broke up, but you seem to be having one foot in and one foot out. And what this is the in-between stage. Imagine yourself wedged between the archway of a living room and a dining room. When you're in that area, you are neither in the living room or in the dining room. You are neither here nor there. You're in between. So that is a metaphor, analogy of how we can get stuck, teetering on that fence and not sure which way to go. Often, the antidote to that is just to go one way. So if you've left him, continue down that path of leaving. And if there's meant to be a rekindling, it will happen only after you completely step into the next dimension, so that you can experience and exist and morph and transform and heal in that new dimension. Just go, right? And then it will happen. I can understand by looking at your chart here, there's a lot of the blocks are on a communicative area. So the communication between the two of you, there's a couple of things. First of all, you're a nurturing, caring person. And there is a new love life coming towards you who will not take advantage of your caring, loving nature. And this is one that is very spiritual in nature, this new relationship. And it's very healing for you and extremely nurturing and comfortable and feels like home right away. And that's April of 2022. At the same time, at the end of March, and the beginning of April, if you two maintain this dance that you're in, where you're neither here nor there, that's going to blow up and be done at the end of March and the beginning of April. Okay. So even if you don't go back to it, it may resurface right before that. Like he may contact you or text you and you're like, what the, right? And you may need that last final bye-bye for that. Now you need your freedom. And this is something that he was constricting. You love your freedom of thought, your freedom. You're very inventive. You're extremely intuitive. You like your group of friends. You are adventurous. You like new. You want that person to be your best friend and have a lot in common. You just hang out together and have a blast, right? But also who isn't detached. So what happens when you are someone who needs freedom, there's a tendency to attach yourself to those that are unhealthy versions of of freedom, which means they're not emotionally, physically, or intellectually there. They're not in those ways, and they're unpredictable in nature. If this describes him, then that may not work. She says, thank you. I'd love feedback on that. Love catching your live streams. Thank you. What's coming up for me in November and December? We're going to look at that one, and then one or two more, and then done. And I will go live again tomorrow. Okay? Hopefully it'll be later in the day. I'm Eastern Standard Time, so probably be around 6-ish in the day, or maybe early in the morning. We'll see. Kind of unpredictable, aren't I? I want to be able, I have clients from all over the world, so I like to be able to grab different people. So we're going to look at, she's in Moscow, and should I, no, that's another one. Is that one? Let me see. Yeah. Should I start a podcast project? June 3rd. That's the thing now, eh? Podcast. I know a lot about podcasting and where to go and how to go and what to do. I don't always have time to do it all for myself. But there looks like, yeah, there's definitely a new venture of a business that you'll be going into in the new year. You're going to get an opportunity at the very end of December and January and the very beginning of February. So between the very end of December to the very beginning of February, that's the window of opportunity. And it looks like the podcasting that you're doing is looking or working or you need another person with you. You need to be in collaboration and a conversation and communication. I think that person shows themselves to you at that time. And whether you're interviewing people or you have a partner in crime, you're working around the health or the healthcare and around emotional well-being and around health and around problem solving that, possibly working if you're born after 4, 5 in the morning. It may be around progressive, alternative types of healings or problem solving. If you're born before that, it could be around mentoring, becoming self-employed, helping people with self-employment. But you're here to learn to be a teacher and to share and educate and speak. So the podcast is, yes, do it. It will be successful. You are welcome. What's coming for me in... Okay, so I will do this last one. Spawn on with manipulation and trust issues, she says. Zarina with her father. Okay, so you just hang in there because the predictive part will happen and your relationship with your father will begin mending and healing as you mend and heal yourself. So 7/16/83. Usually I want words, not numbers. Obviously this one is July 16. And AskHollyHall.com. Go on there, sign up to my newsletter, get 20% off, get a reading. Get a reading for the new year. Things are changing fast, and you want to know how to shift and change and morph and heal with it, because that's what we're supposed to be doing as we're squeezing our existence out of the matrix. And that's going to happen between 25 and 2030. You can read my book, 101 Answers from the Universe. That's where you're going to find out. I wrote that in 2019 about now, about what's happening now. And so, yeah, you are trying to heal and mend a relationship with either a child or a younger sibling. It's definitely a family member. And in in the next couple of months, you feel very persuasive in trying to communicate with this person. If you go on the level of feelings, then that communication is going to be very successful. Okay, and this is somebody that does not communicate very well, and neither do you when you're angry, but you want the anger dissolved. You don't want to have this anger between the two of you anymore. So reach out that one more time, literally right about now. Also, you have March of 2022. You can reach out to that person as well. Okay. And let me see if there's no specific questions. So that's very general. It's hard for me to answer exactly what. There's also, yeah, I'm going to end it there. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, YouTubers. I don't see anything on YouTube yet. And AskHollyHall.com is where you can get a hold of me. Ask Holly Hall on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to my YouTube. I have tons and tons of information. You can go on Insight Timer is an app. I've got lots of meditations there for you that are really helpful. Namaste. I turn this off. Namaste, everyone. There we go. End video. Bye, everyone. Sorry, Siobhan. Come tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. Okay. Namaste.